Hey y'all, it's Jimmy Stovall. Welcome to my podcast, Ribbin with Jimmy. Whether I'm in the restaurant or on TV, one of my favorite things is talking to people and hearing their stories. And I believe the best way to have a great conversation is over a meal. Hey Jennifer Chandler, how are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me here
Absolutely.
today.
I'm so excited to have you. Superstar celebrity here in Memphis for food writing.
I don't know about that. But thank you. I just like to eat.
do.
That's all it is.
Exactly. Well, this is perfect.
Yes.
So, if you're not familiar with my podcast, I think the best way to get to know somebody better, have a great conversations over a meal. That's what I've always done in the restaurant business. I'm assuming you the same way.
Exactly. Food brings people together.
It does.
It's gathering places at a table.
It does. It makes you more relaxed and it's comfortable. And so we do an appetizer section. We kind of get to know you. And then we do an entree section where I say we get into the meat of it in the barbecue business. And then dessert is rapid fire questions, just the first thing that pops to your mind.
But we get dessert too, right?
Oh, we get dessert.
Okay, good.
Yeah. And I pick everything for what I think that you would like and why. I'll tell you why I picked it.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, I really haven't had anything at Corky's I haven't liked. That's the problem. When you said, what's your favorite? I'm like, I can't. I don't have one favorite.
Yeah. So it's kind of fun. So we have a lot of different things. And so, I picked a couple good things today. All right. So first, I just kind of want to go through your bio and tell everybody who you are. So you have written 4 cookbooks, the Southern Pantry Cookbook, Simply Grilling, Simply Suppers, Simply Salads.
Yeah.
So where'd the Simply...
Well, the idea is when I was writing those books, I was a busy stay-at-home mom, and I had 2 little girls that were very active and doing lots of sports, and I was trying to find out how do you put a meal on the table.
Right.
And so I was really, my books kind of really talk about where I was in that stage of life. So it was about how do I simply put a homemade meal on the table that's fresh and delicious and interesting.
Yeah. But that everybody could do.
That everybody can do and everybody likes. So that's what those recipes came from.
It's great. You're a consultant to clients when they're opening restaurants?
Yes, I have done that. I'm not doing as much of that anymore now that I'm writing for the full-time for the paper.
Right.
But prior to that, yes, I have worked as a restaurant consultant. I helped open a place called Sheffy's Cafe for the folks that own Swanky's Taco Shop. It's a sandwich and salad bar concept, a build-your-own concept.
Yep.
I helped open Lafayette's Music Room.
Oh, that's a
at
great
Overton
place.
Square. Yeah, I kind of managed that project when they were getting open. And for other people, I've helped with food cost analysis.
Yeah.
And, that behind-the-scenes stuff that is not so exciting.
Not so sexy and exciting.
But you kind of have to know to run a business.
You
do.
It's very
and a lot
important.
of chefs don't, if there are a lot of creative types don't necessarily want to put the numbers to it. And I'm a finance major who loves to cook and loves to eat, which is kind of a crazy thing. So I understand all that.
Because I was like, what? You've been a food stylist for print and television. I wrote down, it's not as easy as it sounds. I've done food styling, for years at QVC. I have great food stylists now, but in the beginning I did it all. And there's a lot of tricks and it's not easy.
There is. I mean, it's completely crazy what you have to do sometimes. I remember one time being on a shoot and we were making these beautiful lemon curd cupcakes that had a buttercream, but it was obviously Memphis, Tennessee.
Right.
It was hot and humid and it just kept melting. We were inside in the air conditioning, but it just kept melting. And finally I had to whip out my Crisco
Exactly.
and add a little food coloring to it. And
right.
I was telling people, don't take a bite.
That's right.
Don't take a bite.
At QVC on the sets, people will walk up right after the show and go, okay, which one can I eat? Which one I can't? And we're like, okay, we can eat this. Anything that's on my main board, you can touch.
Yes, it's kind of crazy. And I have funny stories. Like I do a lot of packaging, food styling, and I for chip companies, it's like going through like 12 bags of chips to find
get the perfect chips.
To find the perfect chip.
That's awesome. You've developed recipes for national brands, French's Mustard, Family Dollar, Macy's. You were the spokesperson for French's for 2 years.
I was.
That's huge. I didn't know that.
It was a lot of fun. I got to go around the country, and I did kind of TV segments and regional news stations, as well as went to kind of like different conferences and did cooking demos. And
using French's Mustard.
Uses French's Mustard. It was a lot of fun.
Wow.
And and now I pretty much put mustard in everything still because I realized, it's such a great way to add flavor.
It is.
Especially even if ever it's yellow mustard or Dijon mustard or grainy mustard. I mean, they're so versatile.
It's funny you said
they need
that.
to hire me back.
They do. They do. You would be great. I do mustard in my steak butter, so I make a butter up and I put some chives and garlic and mustard. I mix it up, put it back in the fridge, and then when the steaks come off the grill, I put them. I just did it this weekend. Actually, that's weird.
I may be stealing that idea
it's
this
so
weekend.
Easy. It's good. I'll tell you where I got it from because we have a connection there. Martha Stewart.
Oh.
Yeah, I know. So
Very
I make
cool.
it one time. Now, of course, I kind of make it my own, depending on what kind of mustard or whatever. But that's where really the base came from, and I put it on every steak that I grill.
Well, that's what everyone does when you take a recipe is you get an idea from somewhere. I mean, what do they say? There's no original recipes.
That's right.
But you take a recipe and then you tweak it to make it your own or have your own special thing because you may not, like, for example, yours with your butter for your steaks, you may have put Dijon mustard in there, but I may love grainy mustard more, so I may put grainy mustard. So you just tweak it to make it your own.
That's exactly right. Yeah, because I don't love the grit of the grainy mustard, and so I don't do that. I do the other, and I think it originally maybe called for that. That's funny. You do a weekly radio segment on WKNO FM called The Weekly Dish. I
do, and it's kind of fun. I get to talk about whatever I want for 3 minutes. But it's fun. I do a lot of, that's a combination of talking about a recipe and giving tips on a recipe, or if I have a topic that I want to talk about. Recently I did one, it was National Waffle Day.
Yeah.
And I had Danielle Johnson, who owns the Waffle Iron. I had her give her tips on making the perfect waffle.
Yeah.
So it's a combination of just me as well as some special guests giving you tips
really
on how
cool.
to put something delicious on the table.
And that lives online as well?
It does. Yeah. It does. It's at WKNOFM.org.
Cool. Your food. So the big thing, well, I'm going to get to what you've published, and then we'll get back to where you are now. So you've been published in the following magazines: Edible Memphis, Delta, Mid-South Magazine, Travel, Nashville Home and Garden, First Magazine, Pilates Style. Did you do recipes?
I did a salad article for that. Yes.
And you've been on Food Network, Dinner Impossible.
Yes, twice. Crazy.
And you were on the Martha Stewart radio show.
Yes.
So it's funny when I saw that. I've gotten to do some pretty amazing things in my career. Those pinch me moments a lot. And I saw that, and so I actually have been in her office in New York, and I saw her radio set or radio station thing with all the microphones similar to this, and I got to give a presentation to her in her boardroom, and then tour her sets and all that.
That's cool.
And so when I saw that, I was like, oh, you're on that show, because I actually might have a picture of me, like, a selfie in front of her radio
which is
awesome.
Which is awesome. I did get to go up to their studios once in New York, but then most of the other times I just was a call-in guest. But it was definitely,
her offices are amazing.
Yes,
with all the sets, and it's an entire floor.
It would make me the happiest clam in the entire world to have that be my office.
Yes, yes. And Martha, she was great. I worked with her with QVC, and I went to her launch party. When she was on QVC in New York in her offices, and it was fun, and she taught me some things. So she's a no nonsense stickler, but you know what? That's why her recipes work. Oh my gosh, she is no nonsense.
Perfectionist.
That's right. Now you're a food and dining reporter for the Commercial Appeal,
correct,
which is our local newspaper in Memphis, and you've done that for how long?
I have been there full time for probably, at this point, 2.5 years. But I had freelanced for them.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yes, I had freelanced for the Commercial Appeal for over a decade.
Okay. Yeah. So. All right. Okay. This is what Barry, one of the owners at Corky's, always says. Let's roll up our sleeves and get into it. So we got the appetizer here.
Oh, how did I miss that?
How about that? See, look.
Okay, I
picked you fried chicken drummies. And this, to me, is like when a favorite restaurant in your hometown, and or even if it's a restaurant that everyone goes to when they come in town, there's always these one or two little things on the menu that people the normal person just stopping in to eat don't think about. And the drummies, I think, are a local Memphis favorite. And not everyone knows about them, but the people who love our drummies, our fried chicken drummies, they love them.
Can I tell you a funny story about
Okay.
these fried chicken
All right.
drummies? Pretty much every big party I have,
Yeah.
I
It's a
order like 3 or 4 dozen of these and put them out on a platter. I mean, I've been eating these for
And
years.
are they
and
the first things gone?
They are. Everyone loves them.
I know.
Everyone always loves
It's-
them, and they're even good at room temperature.
They're great.
And
Yep.
these are going to be hot. I'm going to have to
Yep.
impose on you for a
Oh,
paper
some
towel
paper
over
towel.
there
Here you go. Grab and there you go.
as I dig into this.
That's right.
These are really, and I have to, if anybody's not tried them before, I mean, you can probably describe them better, but they're like the perfect, like they're not too big. They're not a drumstick,
Right.
but they're bigger, a little slightly bigger than the party wing
Yeah,
drummy.
that's right.
And so there's so it actually has meat on it.
Absolutely.
And the batter is so good.
To me,
In fact,
it's
I have
the
a piece of
batter
just
and
batter
these
right
little,
here.
these little, almost like wings of batter.
Mm-hmm.
Our drummy seasoning, I think, is probably some of the best fried chicken seasoning ever.
It's got a little pepper in it too,
It
doesn't it?
does. It does.
Okay, what's the sauce was it? Because I always just used to your barbecue sauce.
Oh, see, this is our. Well, I call it our smoky ranch dip,
Okay.
and I actually talk about this on QBC all the time because it's so easy to make at
Okay, I
home.
can't believe I'm eating this on TV forever.
Well, you're doing it. The
Can you hear me crunching?
The crunchiness of the crust, the juicy chicken. It's so good. The sauce, half barbecue sauce, half ranch dressing.
That's it?
And it's
It's
incredible.
really good.
We do it with our onion rings. I love it with these because it's traditional. You might do ranch or you might do blue cheese or whatever with a drummy or wing or something like that.
No,
but
I
I
like
like it because
this.
it's like a smoky ranch dressing. And it's so easy. It's literally just half and half. Barbecue sauce and ranch dressing. I'm gonna take another bite.
It's really good. And I will still tell you everyone, when you can order them in advance and you can go through the drive-through and pick up a big,
Tray of them.
a big tray of them and just put them out and everyone will love them. But they said the sad thing is there's never any leftovers.
No, never.
But it's such a great party. And then and what I like them better than serving hot wings is hot wings. I love hot wings.
Yeah.
But at a party, hot wings are covered in sauce.
That stuff all over your hands.
So it's definitely much messier.
Yeah, so because to me you're just you're iconic in Memphis, and locals in Memphis absolutely love the drummies, and so that's why I picked those for you. And I didn't know if you had tried this sauce that we do with
it's great.
But it's a really good dipping sauce.
Here,
It's
I'm
not
gonna
hot and
put it here.
spicy. It's just a nice balance of flavor. It gives you a little bit of that kick of ranch.
It's really yummy. And I love finding dishes like this, like
Yeah.
your fried catfish.
Oh my gosh.
I remember the first time I tried it, I was like, fried catfish at a rib place?
Yeah.
I just never would have thought to, but
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Yep.
So when you go out to a restaurant, do you always do an appetizer?
I try to. My thing is I have to tell you, COVID's been very hard for me
Yes.
because I'm the person that eats off of everyone's plate.
Oh.
And I am the person that I would be like,
You want to try it.
yes, I make everyone order everything different so that we all have different things that we can eat and so that we can try different things. And so now, of course, when I go to a restaurant, I tell the poor server, I'm like, can we please have an extra serving spoon and everybody have an extra plate so that we can share this,
Right.
but nobody touch each other's food.
That's right.
And so I feel very bad for all the servers and especially the dishwasher because I feel like every table I go
there's
to, it's
12
like,
plates.
yes, there's more than double the amount of work off of my table.
Right.
But
That's good.
but yes, I like to try as much as I can because, that's how you get to sample a place. And to be honest with you, appetizers tend to be my favorite part of the menu because
mine too.
it tends to be a little more creative.
Yep.
And
They're not huge.
they're not
plates.
huge.
Yep.
It's not as heavy.
Right.
Because if you're going to get a steak and mashed potatoes and a
Yeah, that's
vegetable,
a heavy.
that's all you can eat.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah.
So you're a food writer,
Mm-hmm.
not a food critic, I would say.
Right.
So how'd you make that decision to distinguish between those two?
Well, it was very hard. So when I started with a commercial appeal freelancing forever and ever ago, I sat down with the editor, Chris Peck, who was Chris Peck.
Mm-hmm.
And I just said, I can't write something bad about a restaurant.
Right.
If a restaurant experience is not good, I am not going to write about them. I just don't need to bring a highlight to it.
Right.
The restaurant will close itself.
That's
I don't
right.
need to be the person
Yeah.
that puts the nail in the coffin. And I think it comes from the fact that I owned my own restaurant
So you see.
20 years ago.
Yeah.
It was called Sheffy's Market and More. It was in Sanderland Center. We were kind of a prepared foods market. And so I know the value of PR and press and what people say. And, when mine was open, it was before all the social media stuff where people could bash you or make, there was no Yelp back then or things like that. And I know how hard it was then. So I know especially how hard it is right now.
Yeah.
And I also know there are days when if, something goes wrong,
it's an off day.
Yeah, it's an off day for the staff,
Right. Everyone has a bad.
You always have to give somebody a second chance.
Right.
And so I just feel like my job, and I think this comes from my personality, I want to lift people up. That's just who I am. And I've approached this position as I lift people up. Now, when I am doing a review of a place, I do one about it once a month.
Yeah.
Is I'll be honest. If something I think needs to be improved, I'll mention it. But my kind of rule of thumb is if 80% is not good, I'm not going to write about it.
Right. And it's not a bashing. It's more this could have.
Yes.
Yeah. Right. And I think it's important. I love it, and I think that's probably, in my opinion, is why you're so well received. Not because you only say good things. It's just that you're lifting people up, like you said, and that's what people need. I think.
Yes.
There's plenty of bashing. The media is more towards pointing out negatives. And that's difficult, and I think that you're this bright light in the space, and especially now, where restaurants need.
Well, they need it more than everything, and especially, and I will tell you, right now, I'm kind of been shying a little away from reviews. I've been more writing about just individual dishes because of the fact that the restaurant industry is hurting.
Oh my gosh!
And everyone is understaffed, and and also there's food supply chain things.
Yep.
People are out of menu items because of something that's beyond their control.
Right.
So I think that people need to be patient with our restaurants right now as they build themselves back up.
Yeah, because it's tough. I mean, it's tough to get staff and work under different conditions, and we the last thing we want to do is upset a customer. So we feel it definitely. So I appreciate that. So I'm going to back up a second. So you're from Memphis. You went to college at Georgetown.
I did.
That's awesome.
Yes.
And then what?
Oh, and then what?
Yes.
So, I was at Georgetown, and all throughout college, I had internships with First Tennessee Bank, now First Horizon.
Yeah.
And so I would come home every summer, and I'd work in the different areas of the bank. I was in this one program that the idea that they were taking these students and they were going to groom them to be in different departments when they graduated.
Right.
And whereas I was really good with numbers, I really just was not enjoying what I was doing because I was usually stuck behind a computer and working alone. And anybody that knows me knows that I don't sit still.
Right.
I love to work with my hands.
Yeah.
And I talk a lot. So it was like the worst scenario for me. And so I was sitting in an interview with a New York finance firm, my senior year in college. And he was listening to me talk, and of course, I was the girl that kind of ran homecoming and spring fest and all the fun party stuff in student government. And he goes, you can make a living off of that. And I was like, oh, really? So I went for a year, and I worked actually as an office manager, kind of doing the bookkeeping and the finances for a special events company called Washington Inc., which was a big one. And it was really cool. I worked for them about a year and a half. I got to do an inauguration. It was Clinton's inauguration. I got to do Margaret Thatcher's birthday party at Union Station. It was awesome. And I had a wonderful boss there, Michelle Jacobs, that kind of saw where I wanted to go.
Yeah.
And her, and then the owner of Design Cuisine Caterer, which was a huge catering company in D.C., really kind of took me under their wing and said, you need to go to culinary school. So I immediately picked up my phone and called.
But that one guy that you were interviewing with,
changed my course.
Sort of changed the course of your trajectory.
Yeah. And there have been times where I was like, oh, my bank account might be bigger if I had gone to work for Solomon Smith Barney or something like that.
But you've gotten to do what you love.
I'm so blessed. I play with food for a living.
Right.
And going to culinary school in Paris was the best decision I ever made. It was such a life-changing experience. And I've been able to follow my dream and make a career with it. And it's been interesting when we talk about all the different things I do is, in Memphis, there's not a market. To be a food stylist in Memphis, there's not enough business.
No, absolutely not.
Or to be, even to be, in cookbook writing, everyone thinks, oh, you're going to make tons of money. Well, cookbooks are not the most lucrative thing in the entire world.
And they're a lot of work.
And they're a lot of work. But I was able to kind of put all the things that I loved into one what I call my Cook with Jennifer realm and make it into a viable food business that had many different kind of legs and arms.
Yeah, which is great. And so to me, and I have a daughter in college, and I want her to be a success. I also want her to do what makes her happy.
Right.
And so I'm assuming that your path was, private school, then Georgetown, finance, and then you're like, brakes come on, I'm going to go to culinary school in Paris.
Yes.
That's an enormous shift in...
Yeah, I can only imagine my parents' faces.
Right. That's what I'm trying to think,
I was luckily living in D.C. when I told them this over the phone, so I didn't have to see them. That was before FaceTime. I had no idea. There was no Zoom for them to see what they looked like.
You could say, oh, it's breaking up. I can't hear you, but yes, I'm going to Paris.
Yes. Yes.
And so where did you live in Paris?
I lived in the 6th arrondissement, which was kind of, if you know, right off Place d'Odéon. If anybody knows where the footbridge is, it's the one footbridge that's not drivable across. Mm-hmm. These days, it has locks all over it. No, it didn't used to have locks all over it.
I put a lock on there.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know which bridge? If you went across that bridge, and the Col de Beaux-Arts is right there, and I was half a block behind there.
Really?
It was the most amazing location.
Now, did you take French in high school and college?
I did not.
Oh.
So I took Spanish all through, since I was an international finance major, I had to do a proficiency. So I was very proficient in Spanish. So luckily the two languages are similar. And having been in D.C. and gone to Georgetown, so many people go into the foreign service that they have intensive, quick learn kind of programs.
Okay.
Yeah. So I went for 6 weeks and did an intensive French class. And then you just had to learn. It was.
So when you went over there, was the school in French?
So it was. So the very first, your first class, so how it's basically divided is into 3 quarters.
Yeah.
And so the first quarter they have for the lecture, the professor talks in French and does his stuff, but then there's a translator.
Okay.
But when you go into pratique, where you're actually doing the work,
it's all French.
It's all French, and then after that, it's all French. So
and you had 6 weeks.
Yeah. So needless to say, I learned how to read a menu. I mean,
okay.
I always laugh because my French is probably, it's definitely blue collar French because I learned it all working in the food business and in restaurants.
Right.
And yeah, so I can read a menu beautiful.
It's not the royal dialect.
No. It's terrible, but and I always say, je parle français comme un Parisien de le Sud with my Southern accent.
Oh, yeah. French Southern.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. And so I read where your motto is good food simply. Dinner time can be stress-free and an enjoyable experience for all, even the home chef. And I think that is probably the most important thing because, it's not always stress-free. It's like, what do you want for dinner? We didn't, we don't have everything ready yet. And it becomes the thing in the house. I think that's a great thing. Is that just where did you kind of form that opinion way back then, or more morphing later?
Well, more morphing later. Like when I was in culinary school, obviously, I mean, I was, making, seared foie gras, and I was doing, stuffed tenderloins, and I was doing all these fancy things, but I didn't have children.
Right.
You
had the time.
I had time. I could spend all day in the kitchen.
Yeah.
But then I had children, and I was faced with that dilemma that everyone has. And I was like, okay, how do we do this?
Yeah.
Because, lean cuisines, no offense to them. I know I'm super brain names, but, frozen food products, are just don't taste that good.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
so you're like, let's do something simple that everybody can do, but
good. But good. And it's something like homemade salad dressing.
Everyone still raves about your salad book.
Yeah, I mean that's like
your...
It's what I hoped one day that somebody will let me redo it and revamp it because that was written in 2007.
Was it?
And it is my best-selling cookbook.
It's funny if you go, even if I go somewhere or go to a friend's house and there's 6 or 8 of us and someone's doing the salad or someone's doing this. I would say 90% of the time someone's like, oh, I got a Jennifer Chandler salad book. Because people notice a really good salad.
Yeah.
Because you can just have a regular salad and it's just not going to be talked about. But a really good salad, people are like, oh, this salad's great.
Yeah, I mean, there are over 100 salads. I had to get creative. There are over 100 salads in that book. So, some of them inspired were what I eat at restaurants, some at home. Someone actually gave me a recipe that it's got like you know those little Terra chips, but it was like almost like potato straws.
Yes.
But made with Terra chips, so they're multicolored,
Oh my
like the
gosh.
vegetable ones.
Yeah.
And the dressing has ketchup in it.
Oh,
And it
really?
actually works.
Is it like a
Sort of like a
Russian
Thousand Island,
Yeah.
sort of like that. But it is,
Really?
it works, the sweetness of all that. But so we got a little crazy in that. But I mean, making home, last night I had a salad.
Yeah.
It was one of those things, I came home and I looked and I had like half a head of butter lettuce, half a head of romaine, and I had bought some chicken breast. I threw the chicken breast on the grill.
Yeah.
I just used up the extra greens I had,
Yeah.
and I made a homemade ranch, which to me
you can't beat homemade ranch. It's
no,
the
I
best.
mean, I keep a little thing of buttermilk. That's all I tell you. Get the small container that you can find of buttermilk.
Yeah.
It's great to have, and it lasts forever.
Uh-huh.
It's great to have for biscuits and making buttermilk ranch dressing. And then it's two recipes, and then you're
That's
done
right.
with
Then
it.
you're done with it.
Yeah.
It's not going to go bad.
It's not
going to
go bad.
Yeah.
It's not. Kroger has the perfect one with the top on it that I swear is a little bit bigger than a pint.
Yeah.
I like their new packaging.
Perfect size.
Yeah.
All right. If you want another drummy, grab one. If not, we're going to get into the main course.
Okay.
And it's funny that you happened to mention it earlier.
Oh no.
Yeah. Which is awesome. So I picked good. I picked
You
catfish for you.
did.
And let me tell you, this is what here you can grab one of those larger plates if you want.
Okay.
The reason that I picked catfish and drummies is because you know that we're famous for barbecue and that's what people come to for, but we also
Feeling
have these other
hush
great items, and it's so funny how you mentioned it. You said, "Oh, and your catfish," and I thought, "Oh, awesome! That's what I picked for you."
The hush puppies dipped in the ranch barbecue sauce is really good.
See, I first of all, I love hush puppies, and I dip in tartar sauce. Like I love tartar sauce. If I had fries here, I would dip my fries in there. I love tartar sauce. So tell me, French trained chef, top of her class. So if someone
I'm a
listening
St.
from
Mary's
somewhere
girl.
else,
I'm an overachiever.
okay, that's right. So
Cool.
tell me if someone from somewhere else never tried catfish. Walk me through from a French trained chef.
How would you describe
Yeah,
catfish?
I mean, and it's not something you would think. Oh, this French trained, chef. That would be something that you love.
Well, the first thing I have to say is you need to know where your catfish is coming from, because
That is right.
the stuff coming from China
No,
is not catfish.
no, it's not. It's not catfish.
Yeah, it's not catfish, and don't let anybody surprise you on that one.
That's
right. So a good Mississippi Delta raised catfish, or one
Yeah.
from here in the South, is, it's like the meat is like tender and flaky and almost a little sweet.
Yeah,
And
it is.
it is good grilled, fried, baked, you name it. But something about the frying of it with this cornmeal crust that kind of gives us this nice crispiness.
Yep.
That's a nice contrast.
It's crunchy.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's crunchy, but with soft fish inside. It's so, so good. And you can tell this one here because when I'm tearing this apart right here, look at that. Beautiful white meat.
White fish. Yep.
Yeah, and it's so flaky. It's so good.
And we
Hey,
do
now I have to take a bite.
We do big pieces of catfish for dinner. We have the little nuggets where we cut up the catfish, and I love catfish. It to me, it's just a southern, favorite, and I also think that it comes down to the breading when you're having fried catfish.
Oh, without a doubt.
Because it's fine if it's just cornmeal. It is. It's fine.
Yep.
But ours is seasoned similar to the drummy. It's got some flavor to it, a little bit of kick. And I think that adds so much, because I think that people who maybe haven't had catfish or
have
maybe
it
not used to
where it's not fried correctly, where it's greasy.
Absolutely.
It should never be greasy.
No. And I think the batter gives it so much flavor because it is a very mild white fish. Mm-hmm. It's very mild.
It's super versatile. And I will tell you this, it also, I keep some in my freezer.
Do you?
I found Delta Pride catfish that Mississippi sells at Kroger.
Yeah.
Their frozen, I get buy a box of it, their frozen catfish fillets
Yeah.
are delicious. And you just pull it out the next morning. They thaw. Pull it out in the morning, put it in your fridge. It's thawed by dinner time.
How do you cook it?
Most of the time, I blacken it.
I was just gonna say.
Yeah,
I love blackened.
Yeah, but I put the
too.
blackening seasoning on it, and I do it in a cast iron skillet. Sometimes I'll like. I've actually even started this summer. I did a couple of times where I did it almost like a piccata.
Yeah.
It's like I just dredged it in a little flour and seared it, and then
Oh my
made that
gosh.
butter caper sauce. So good. I mean, it's such a versatile and it's affordable, but the
Yeah.
mild flavor, it appeals to everyone. It's not like
Yeah.
salmon that can be. Some people are.
Some people like. Some
I
people don't.
love salmon, but it can be a little.
Yeah,
fishy.
that's right. That's right. Yeah, this is not, and I think that a perception maybe outside of the South is that that's not going to taste good, or that's going to taste like mud, or that whatever. That's not a good fit.
Not at all.
Catfish is amazing. So I did pick this because it's not the
It's
regular
so good.
barbecue item.
I'm sitting here eating it away.
And the so funny. I looked over at Elizabeth, who helps me here. As soon as you said that, it's like your catfish, and I was like, oh, that's funny because that's what I picked for you.
Yeah, it's really and you guys do it well because, as I said, it's not greasy. It has a very nice crispy crust, and then the fish is still tender and moist
meaty,
inside.
but it's meaty. It's
Yep.
not like a little tiny. So I can't. Our pieces are huge. I mean, I have a big hand. This is as big as my hand. We'd use the bigger catfish. At Corky's we do bigger portions, and we want the wow effect, and but I like it any way. You can strip it, you cut it in half, nuggets, whatever. To me, it's about making sure, like you said, I love Delta farm raised catfish.
Yeah.
And the batter. I love the batter.
Yep.
But now a blackened catfish like taco.
Yep. So
That's my
that's pretty good too.
I love it.
You guys
Okay.
should sell your batter.
I know.
You should do a package of a dry pack. There you go.
There
I want
you go.
when you sell it on QVC. I want a royalty off of that idea. I think it would sell great.
So it probably would. It really would. I know we've never done, and we're in a lot of places, with retail or QVC, or we ship barbecue all over the country. But catfish is the one thing you only can get at the restaurants for now.
You should.
For now.
You should.
Yeah.
You can't sell the catfish. Probably wouldn't work. But you could do the dry breading.
Yeah, maybe I should. It's a great breading. Yeah. And I don't know if you've tried it. I didn't bring it here today, but for the little nuggets, the catfish nuggets, where we cut this up and they're like little chicken, bites. We also do a hot version. It's like the Nashville hot, but we do it in hot sauce. We do hot sauce.
I've
and
not
butter.
had those.
If you like,
I might have to try them.
you won't believe how good.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yes. Anyway.
So you talk about how versatile it is.
Yes.
Right. Sorry, I'm crunching,
all right, so let me
crunching into the microphone. I apologize.
No. So, I ask this to everybody that I interview because I always think food it's about memories, friends, family, sharing. Take me back to your favorite home cooked meal that either your mom or your grandmother made.
I would say what immediately popped into
Yep.
my head. So my family's originally from New Orleans. I was born there, but I was pretty much raised in Memphis.
Yeah.
And my grandmother's kitchen was tiny. I mean, if it was 10 by 10, I mean, remember her dishwasher was not like
It wasn't connected.
It was like in the middle of the room and it moved around.
Mm-hmm.
And my grandmother, Francesca Points Hanneman, she was a genteel French woman. Her parents moved over from France.
Oh my God!
And she would be 100 and something right now
Yeah.
if she was still alive.
Right.
And but she could cook for 40 people off of this one little tiny stove with
Yeah.
one little tiny oven and
Yeah.
make these fabulous meals. And the one dish that we always had was grits and griots.
Oh.
A lot of times she served our rice, but griots. Her griots were like the best, which is this southern, like slow cooked top round steak and a tomato
Yeah.
sauce.
And
dish.
served over grits.
And served over grits. You can serve it over grits or serve it over rice. And it is so good. And how she could make divinity on the most humid August day
In New Orleans.
and have it be crispy and light, I have no
Yeah.
idea. That's a trick I never got from her.
So I love asking this question because it does take it. Everyone I ask
Yeah.
it just takes them back like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And then there's always this boom. Here's this thing.
Yep.
And so you remember this dish with grits, and I'm assuming that you, just like you described, you can picture her kitchen.
Yeah.
You probably can smell the aromas of it cooking.
Yeah, and I make this dish every year for Christmas.
That was my next question.
Yes.
So
Oh, yeah.
you still make it?
I still make it. It's our family. Well, one is it can be stretched when you're trying to feed an army.
Right, because of the grits and it's filling.
It's filling you. It's a
Is
great
it
dish.
is it plain grits or cheese grits or?
So she used to use instant grits.
Okay.
I have to admit I've gotten a little swanky on her. And so now I use those stone ground yellow grits.
Oh my gosh, those are so good.
Yeah, I mean, I love Delta Grind. I love Original Grit Girl. I know that they're both out of Oxford and they're probably big competitors, so I go back and forth between the two. But what I do is I cook those grits, and this is a trick.
Okay.
Is I do not cook them in water. You cook them in half chicken stock and half milk.
Oh my gosh.
And so that makes the milk gives them creaminess, but it's not over the top creamy. And the chicken stock gives it flavor. And you just slow cook them, and then you add Parmesan or cheddar cheese or something like that. So they do require a little patience because they do take like 45 minutes to cook. Whereas instant grits
but they're worth it.
Yeah.
They're worth it.
Yeah, they're really, really good with it.
Holy cow. I love grits.
So.
All right, so let's go back to the cookbooks. So you were in finance. You went to Paris to learn to be a chef. You came back and worked for an event company. What gave you the confidence? And again, my daughter is that age, and I hope that she has confidence to take risks and do things like that. What gave you that?
I don't know. I mean, I guess it was just I knew that I was a hard worker, and I knew I always gave 110%. And just something in me said, if you don't try to do what you want to do, you'll always regret it.
So it was really, I don't want to regret this.
Yeah.
And I know that if I don't try it, I'll regret it.
Well, at one point I thought that when I went into this, I was looking at it in business mind. My dad had been in corporate America his whole life. And had run AutoZone and had run, big companies with big chains. I thought I was going to have a huge chain of restaurants.
Right.
That was my goal.
Okay.
Well, needless to say, that did not happen.
Okay.
And I had 2 babies in the 3 years that Sheffy's was open.
Oh my God.
And the original Sheffy's was open. And I think that God was just saying,
the restaurant might not be.
Yeah, because I always joked it was Immaculate Conception. I was always at work. I don't even know how that happened. So when I decided to, when we decided to close, and I decided to be a stay-at-home mom, and I was a stay-at-home about 6 months, and my husband came home one day and goes, okay, I know I encourage you to get out of the restaurant business, but you got to get out of the house now.
You have to do something.
You have to do something. You're not one to sit still.
Right.
And he actually got me my first writing job.
Really?
And it was with Mid-South Magazine.
Okay.
And they were looking for someone to write an entertaining column.
Okay.
And so I wrote that and did that for a couple of months. And in my mind, I had always had a dream of having a 20, 30, 40 restaurants around the world.
Sure.
But then I wanted to retire and be Patricia Wells, who is a wonderful food writer in France.
So you skipped forward.
And so I just skipped all of the headaches of running a restaurant.
Yeah.
And went after the cookbook idea. And that's one of the things. I love every aspect of this, but I love writing. Writing a cookbook is hard.
Yeah.
But I love it. I mean, there's something about being in the kitchen.
And your first one was what?
Simply Salads.
Okay. So that is the very first one.
That's
Simply
the first
Salads.
one. And that kind of came from the fact that at Sheffy's Market and More, we were really known for our build your own salad bar and all our homemade dressings. And when I consulted for Sheffy's Cafe, I ended up selling them on my name.
Yeah.
That's a build your own salad bar. So I was known for my salads already.
Okay. So then you were like, hey, here's even more salads.
Yeah,
you love our salad. You loved our salads.
And I took the twist that's when all the bag salads were really first coming out.
Right.
So I was like, oh, nobody's written a book
Grab
on
this
the
bag
bag
and that
salad.
bag.
Yes, and then this is how you do it. It's really super easy.
It's great. It's great. And so, but how did you go, oh, I want to write this, to that I need to find a publisher? Or did you?
So I actually, I had a lot of mentors in my life, and I was not afraid. And so, to go up to people and ask for advice. And
which I think is an important
because
lesson.
You can learn. And most of us are willing to, I may not be able to give you a job, but I'm happy to share my experience with you, because you can learn from everyone if you just listen.
Wow. I think that is, and I love little nuggets of things. That I listen to podcasts all the time, and I'm always looking for these little nuggets. And to make me better. And I always feel like it's extremely important for people to be okay with not knowing everything.
Right.
And if you ask, and like you said, listen, people will tell you almost anything. People love to share their experience.
Yeah.
And so I love that you said that, because that is very important to me, and that's helped me in my career as well.
How boring would the world be if you already knew everything?
I know.
It's,
And everybody
that's
else
the joy
did.
of having to learn everything.
I know.
Well, Ellen Rolfs is an author here in Memphis. She's not a cookbook author, but she had written a couple books. Like, she wrote a book on Elvis and Graceland.
Okay.
And she had been someone that I had over the years gone to for, taken out to lunch about once every 6 months or once a year.
Hold on. Over a meal.
Over a meal.
See?
You got there. Yeah, over a meal. And everything I do is over a meal.
There you go.
So it's always food involved.
Me too.
And so, we just got to know each other. And then one day she knew I was kind of trying to find myself a cookbook deal.
Yeah.
And she got a call from her publisher who said, we're really looking for some fresh new talent. Do you have any ideas? And she recommended me. And I've ever been grateful. She didn't have to do that. I mean, and so grateful for someone that passed it. So hopefully, I always try to pass kindness forward too.
Yeah.
So you never know. But she launched my cookbook career, and I was with that same publisher for 4 years.
Wow.
I mean, not for 4 years, but for 4 books.
Yeah.
For over a decade.
Oh, you stayed with the same publisher?
I stayed with the same publisher.
Wow.
And I'd probably still be with the same publisher, except for they were bought by Random House and they cut out their cookbook division.
Did they?
Yes.
So cookbooks are tough now.
Yeah,
with the internet, and you can find recipes.
Exactly. And
So
I want to write another one.
Are your books? They're on Amazon. You can still find them. They're
Most
out there.
of them are still. I know all are available by ebooks.
Ebooks. Okay.
But I know Simply Suppers was kind of out, which is one of my favorite. I think a lot of. I know Simply Salads is my bestseller, but Simply Suppers I get the best feedback from.
Yeah.
And I think that they're about to republish it. So
Really?
Yeah. So I'm very, very excited about that. But
that's great.
yeah, keep your fingers crossed.
Yes, I definitely will. Definitely the books are amazing, and like I said, your salad book is just known, and people, they don't hesitate to say, "Oh, it's
I love
Simply
that.
Salads." I
It
mean,
makes
it's not
my
like
day.
it's not like, and I'm thinking of like 3 friends of mine, their wives. I'm thinking right now that are like, "Oh, I got it out of Simply Salad." Like, it's just like a no-brainer.
It makes my day when people like on Instagram take a picture of a dish and they tag me and say it's your recipe. I mean, it's like, and plus I always tell people too when I go in their houses, if my cookbooks, which I've been very lucky with that publisher, is I was able to do a photograph with every recipe, and I think that's not common.
Yeah.
It's an expense,
Yeah.
and because I think you need to see. I mean, one is
I
read with my eyes
I do
more,
too.
with the pictures, and
Yep.
then if the pictures entice me, then I read the recipe
Yeah.
more so. And but I wanted people to see how they could plate it and give them ideas
And
about
what
doing
it should look like.
and what it should look like. I'm
Yeah.
rambling on here where I forgot about that, but
No,
what was I
but
started saying about that? I had a point to
I
tell you
just
about
go
the
with
pictures.
it.
Oh, but when people share their pictures,
yeah,
but
yeah.
I always tell them my books are beautiful, but I want them to be oil stained and grease and
Used.
spaghetti splatters on it and like falling apart.
Yep.
That is the biggest compliment to an author.
Yeah, my grandmother's we have my grandmother's cookbook. She was Greek, and she had a Greek cookbook, and I mean, I'm sure it was just from like the Greek fest of the church or something. I don't know. But it was spiral bound, plastic spiral bound. I mean, all the it's almost like it needs rubber bands around it.
Yeah.
Because she used it so much, and and I'm sure it was for reference because she kind of did her own thing. But I know exactly what you're talking about. Like it looks like, oh, this has been used. This is not.
Yeah.
You're not breaking the seal when you open it up.
No, not at all.
Have you ever donated or done like a private chef dinner or cooking class, like for a charity auction or anything?
I have before. I have many times over the years. I
Okay,
don't
so-
really do it right now.
Okay, so all right, so how was the experience? Was that stressful doing that?
Well, it is and it isn't, because I mean, what's stressful about it is just the logistics on getting all the ingredients and going to someone's kitchen you don't know. And I've definitely have been in kitchens where I was told, oh, I did this one thing. I can remember it was somebody auctioned me off in Nashville. So it wasn't, I mean, I wasn't even in my own element.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And so I went to this house in Nashville, and I was told that this woman said came up to me at the auction. She goes, I'm a great cook. I love to cook. I have a fully, stocked.
I have a chef's kitchen.
A chef's kitchen. And I go to her home, and I think she has one cutting board.
Oh my gosh.
She has one pot and one bowl. And I'm supposed to be doing a dinner for 12. And then she was all excited about her new grill, and I think she must have bought the cheapest grill at Lowe's. I mean, I swear I couldn't. And it was dark outside, and there was no light. So I'm having to stand there with my cell phone trying to like sear.
And she's invited everybody over to celebrate that she bought this.
And she said she was going to help cook, and I swear I don't think she lifted a finger. I would have brought an assistant, but she had said, "No, I'm going to cook." You know.
I knew there'd be a story there.
Yeah. That's a rare one. Most of the time, it's not a film. I mean, most of the time, I actually love doing it because, especially when the demo's over and you kind of everyone's had a glass of wine and you're kind of like getting to know each other.
Right.
And that's really
and
special.
that kind of takes you back to the restaurant where you get that instant feedback, like, "Oh, this is so good."
Yeah.
You know, you hear it right there.
Right.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. Okay, it's almost May. I want to talk Barbecue Fest for a second.
Oh yes.
So in Memphis, we have the biggest barbecue competition in the world down in Tomley Park, and here locally we call it Barbecue Fest, but the actual name is World Championship Barbecue Cooking Contest.
I know.
I'm
I
careful
had to
do
explain that to one of our photographers on our staff at the CA who's not from Memphis. I was like, I'm going to give you this contact. Now, I'm sitting here calling it Barbecue Fest because I've called it Barbecue Fest for 30 years
me too.
plus. But do not call it Barbecue Fest
Right.
in anything you put in writing.
That's right, that's
or
not
any
what
taglines or anything like that because no.
It's definitely World Championship Barbecue Cooking Contest. Yes, in Tomley Park.
It is very long to write, especially when you put Memphis and May in front.
Exactly. It's downtown Memphis. It's on the river bluffs. Sometimes up to 250 competitive barbecue teams come in, set up huge, amazing booths overlooking the river. It's truly like a 4-day and night party. Daytime is serious. It's about cooking barbecue, and the aromas are amazing, truly for miles. And then at night, it turns into a giant party.
Yeah.
I'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of fun. But it's coming up in May. Last year, obviously, it was canceled. This year, because I'm on a team, and it's May 12th through whatever, the 16th or whatever.
Yep.
So what I wanted to know is, what's your favorite thing about Barbecue Fest? I'm sorry, World Championship Barbecue Cooking Contest. There you go.
You know, one of the things that I love is like on that first day when people start like firing up their pits and and all of a sudden
like on Wednesday.
Yes, on that Wednesday, and you're walking down the streets of downtown Memphis, and this smell
of barbecue.
It's barbecue, and it just permeates all of downtown Memphis, and there's nothing like it. It smells
it's
so
amazing.
Good.
Everyone's using different woods and charcoals, and it's just imagine. I call it like it's almost, to me it's like the smell of spring. So I know like everyone can relate to fresh cut grass, like that great spring scent of when someone cuts the grass, and barbecue. And I relate it to you go outside of your house and your neighbor or somebody 2 doors down has lit their charcoal grill, and you smell it and you're like, oh, someone's cooking out. It's that times 1,000.
It is. It is like an aroma that you've never experienced anywhere. I mean, it's in your face, but it's so good. And then there's just this enthusiasm. I mean, that whole, everyone is happy and everyone is excited, and
everyone's competing, but they're not. But you're not like, everyone's very helpful. So like if I'm out of gloves, and you can go to the booth next door. Hey, you have a couple gloves we can borrow. Everyone is amazingly helpful, even though everyone's competing.
Yeah, it's a nice camaraderie. I feel like that you have to be a special person to be on a team.
Yes,
anyway,
you do.
I've had people
I'm
ask
very
me to be
special.
on teams in the past, and I've been like, I kind of like my experience of going and coming, and when
you
I
have
went,
to,
I'm not going to spend the night down there. That's just really not my thing. Now, I've been there before working on things, and been there from like 4 a.m. in the morning until like 10:30 midnight, at night, and been a full day.
Yeah.
But I'm not sleeping in one of those tents.
It is. Yeah. I mean, we've got a big 2.5 story structure with scaffolding, and this year no, but in general, right on the river. And yes, I have slept in a hammock thing underneath. And it's terrible. Yeah. But and it's muddy usually because at some point it rains, and but to me, there's no other experience like that in the world. I mean, it's amazing.
No.
And the craziest part is if you've never been, you're not from Memphis, you may have heard of it or seen it. You cannot eat the barbecue. which is everyone's like, what do you mean? What do you mean you can't eat the barbecue?
I know.
So all the teams are private teams, and you can't just obviously wander in and out and try people's barbecue. So you either have to know somebody on a team, or go to like a concession.
Yeah.
And so that's what I think people are blown away. What do you mean you just can't go sample the barbecue? And you're like, no, you can't.
I know. Well, and I always tell people, which is good that they've kind of improved. They have like the Tournament of Champions, like that you could. There's special ticket VIP kind of ticket experiences that you can have that you get tours of booths, and they're doing that this year, but they're not doing Barbecue Alley, which they added a couple of years ago, which was. They actually featured a few places that that were doing barbecue.
Eat. Yeah.
But I always tell people, you go for the scenes, the sights. I mean, the booths, the Miss Piggy idol, which is not happening this year.
I know. It's where. So explain that contest.
Oh, Miss Piggy. I don't know how you explain that. So basically, a person in each team is a guy,
a barbecue guy.
Yes, dresses up as Miss Piggy, and there's usually a talent show contest involved and a little song and dance that happens with the team members. And it is really
it's a showstopper.
It is one of the funniest things you will ever experience in your life.
Is.
I mean, it is worth seeing once in your life. And I'm sad.
It's a train wreck you can't look away.
It's a train wreck you can't look away.
That's right.
Yeah. And I'm sad that one's not. I
know.
I'm not
and
really
sauce
as
wrestling,
worried. That one can go away. That really disturbs me.
It's not. I've watched it plenty of times.
Watched it.
It's just it's disgusting.
Sauce wrestling is gross. But Barbecue Festival, hopefully, or World Championship Barbecue. But I always tell people, if you come to Memphis for that event, you go to the event, make sure you do one of the VIP experiences so you can experience it. But definitely be there at sunset, walking up and down the river, and it's the smell of barbecue and the music and seeing all the crazy decorations people have done and watching the sunset over the river.
Because there's a booth decoration contest, and when I tell you, some people build structures. Like we have scaffolding, and I built this huge sign, this big rustic sign with lights, like a marquee that I pulled from an old barn and rusted tin, and it's probably, I think it's maybe 12 feet tall and 10 feet wide. It's enormous. But people literally build structures wood, plywood. There's 12 people working 24 hours a day for 3 days to get them set up.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It is a huge thing.
It is crazy. I'll be curious to see how it goes this year.
We're just doing a tent. Big tent. We do have a big space down on the riverfront.
Well, I think everyone had to double their size of their normal
it's big.
structure.
Yeah. So we just did the tent. You can't have that many people, so then we're like, well, we're not gonna pay for scaffolding, all this stuff, because you can't have that many people. So but at least we get to do it, and it's on the river, and
you'll be with your friends.
That's right. And the sunset's amazing right there on the river, and then the smell of barbecue, it's a total it's a blast. Even if you don't know anybody, you can walk around and you can meet people. So then you can then maybe they'll invite you in.
I was going to say, most people, especially around like 8 o'clock at night, everyone's real friendly.
That's really friendly.
The beer may be involved.
That's right. That's right. So I know you love your career. To me, you figured it out. You figured out how to love what you do, and people say, oh, it's almost like a catchphrase, like, oh, I love what you do, but you really do.
Yeah, I feel blessed every day. I mean, I always tell people I get paid to eat and to play with food. I mean, it's like, what better thing in the world? And one of the things that drew me,
and you don't mind doing it, and because it's what you like.
Well, I was gonna say, one of the things that drew me to this whole realm anyway is when you talk about over a meal, is something about a meal provides joy for people.
Yeah.
I mean, when you cook something delicious and feed it to them, they're going to have a smile on their face. And I find that very rewarding. And when I worked in the restaurant business, if you provide good service to someone and you make somebody's day special, I mean, there are very few jobs that you can do that. You can make
get the instant
Yes, you can make somebody's day better.
Yeah.
With simple little gestures. I mean, if it's even simple, making a homemade little brownie.
I totally agree. And again, I've thought about this podcast for a couple of years, and I wanted to do it revolved around food because that's been my life. I've been in Corky's 27 years, and everything I do, whether it's at home or wherever, it's over food. Yep. I mean, that's when you entertain, you have people over. So that was sort of the thought of this podcast. So were you always a writer? Like, even back in high school? I know where you went, so I know that you were a writer, because that school's known for that. But
no, I mean, I was like the math geek. I mean, I should have had a pocket protector. I mean,
calculator.
Yes, exactly. I was kind of math sciences girl, and that's what I excelled in. I think I only took one. I had taken a bunch of AP stuff going into school. So I don't even know if I took an English class.
But were you a good storyteller? Like, where'd the writing come from?
I don't know. I think it just comes from my passion about the project.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's one of the things I laugh that everybody I work with at the Commercial Appeal, I'd say most of them have journalism degrees or masters, and I'm like, sorry. But I mean, luckily I have a topic that I'm so passionate. I'm so well versed in the topic, having worked in restaurants for a decade and owned my own restaurant. I totally understand where a restaurateur is coming from.
Right.
I've gone to culinary school. I understand where food is coming from. I've written cookbooks for home cooks, so I understand what it means to be a home cook. So I kind of understand
all the different aspects of the topic.
Yeah. So I think that gives me a little, I guess, street cred on being able to write about. Now, this year, I will tell you, it's been really hard when I've had to write some kind of more, as I call them, newsy stories about like health directives, and
it's not as fun.
It's not as fun,
but they were informative, definitely.
And I don't. It's something that I'm not as knowledgeable. It doesn't flow as easily from me.
Right. So if someone was starting out and they were like, I want to be a food writer, like what advice? What would you tell them? Like, you have all this history.
So
would you say you need to get some?
Well, history? you just need to. I mean, anytime you're starting out in any job like this, that most of it tends to be freelance. Is just write for as many people as you can, get as much feedback as you can from people that you admire their work.
Okay.
Ask them to read your stuff
nice.
and give them advice.
Yeah.
Get advice from them and just start doing it. And then one of the things that's nice is these days, it's a catch-22 for a professional. I went to this blogging conference probably 5 or 6 years ago. And I was like, okay, well, I need to figure out the blogging world. And it was very funny because I was going in as a seasoned journalist that had wrote for several publications.
Yeah.
And all these bloggers were trying to do, I was trying to learn what they were doing, but they were all trying to get, how do we get writing deals?
Yeah.
And so it was an interesting type of thing. So with the blog world now is just start writing and putting it out there because opportunities will come based on what's, if you have good content.
Yeah.
You can get somebody, and you build up your following. People will start following you, and you'll get.
I was just reading an article about not the clash between, but basically journalism and people who are bloggers. There was a time where all of a sudden it was just like, everyone that wanted to be a journalist could just start writing something.
It's killed a lot of publication. I mean, at one point I wrote for probably about 9 regional publications across the South, magazines.
Yeah.
And I think maybe one of them or 2 of them are still in existence today.
Wow. Just because everyone could write and put it out there.
Yeah, the free content really hurt this publishing industry.
Yeah. And so how'd the Commercial Appeal get you?
I got a phone call one day.
Yeah. And so were you looking to not settle down, but just sort of go in one direction?
I have to tell you, I was a little nervous about it, but it hit me right at the time.
Mm-hmm.
The food writer position at the Commercial Appeal would never become available. But it became the lead food writer, and it became available, and I got a phone call, and I was like, oh. And it just happened to be the time that my oldest daughter was going off to college.
Right.
So I literally started the week after she went off to college.
Well, it kept you busy.
So it gave me something, I thought it was like, okay, it's time for a new chapter.
Yeah.
And part of the reasons, too, I'd been freelance for all those years is it afforded me the luxury of being able to write my own schedule.
Right.
When I was a mom.
Yeah.
And that was.
You could write late at night when you go to bed or early in the morning, whenever.
Exactly. Or when they were at school, but I could still pick them up at 3 o'clock. I didn't have anybody, ruling my schedule.
Yeah.
So now that my kids are adults, basically.
Or at least they think.
They think they are. I don't know. I keep saying that I'm only 19, so how is my daughter older than me?
Seriously.
So, I was very flattered when Mark Russell picked up the phone and called me, and he said, would you come in and talk to me about this, about joining us full time?
Yeah.
And at first I was very nervous, but it ended up, it's been a great thing. We have a great team.
And so do you have a certain amount of stories that you have to publish? How does it work?
Yeah, well,
and where do
as
you?
Most people will see
find,
that I write a whole bunch more than actually I'm supposed to write. But there's a lot of good news, though. I mean, I'm a really big proponent of the small guy. I mean, of course, I love to write about Corky's, who has multiple restaurants and things like that.
Right.
But I also love to write about, I wrote about this girl this week in the Tuesday food section. Bria Woods, who has Elise Dessert Company, and she's making banana pudding.
Oh my god!
And it is the best darn banana pudding. And she has a strawberry banana pudding. I've never had
wow,
strawberry
I've never
banana.
heard that.
Oh my gosh, she folds fresh strawberries into it. It is like
Well,
killer. So
I know I've never had that.
She started this during the pandemic last year.
Wow.
And I love writing about these people that are following their dreams.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my
and
number
I
one
like
thing to do.
it as a reader or someone who is not going to go out and search out these things.
Yep.
Articles like that. I love. First of all, I love underdogs. I just pull for.
Yeah, because they can't afford to have advertising dollars.
No. And I also like. I don't know about you, but I love to be like in the know. Like, what's the new? Oh, this girl, she makes this incredible strawberry, banana pudding. I love having that. And so if you give that and your readers, I think that's super attractive to the readers. Like, oh, I want to get into the know. Like, that's really cool. I want to try that out. So it's not just, you don't just provide a service really to the person you're writing about. I think it's the reader too, because the reader gets in the know.
Yeah, it's true. And it's just one of those things. But I mean, technically I have a story that has to be in the print edition every Tuesday.
Okay.
For the food section.
All right.
And then I have to have a story every Friday in the Go entertainment section.
Okay.
So those are my two, like, I have to do, but I probably write, I'm some weeks I write.
Because online
some
they
weeks
can
I
just
write
go
about
up,
8
right?
to 9. Yeah. That's one of the things that's been interesting about the evolution of newspapers.
Yeah.
And as you'll see, every newspaper in the country has gotten a lot skinnier
Right.
than they used to be. And it's because they view themselves as a digital publication first.
Wow.
That just happens to have a print edition. So yes, there is always so much more content online.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, I'm posting at least one, if not two stories a day.
Well, it's funny because the commercial appeal, when it comes across my Facebook or Twitter or whatever, I click on that all the time and read articles.
Yep.
And so it's just so easy to me. I haven't gotten the newspaper printed in a long time, but reading the articles, and it generally leads me to another one that's right below it or whatever, and so that's where you get your news. I mean, I see it.
And that's the way it's going. I mean, I predict sometime in the near future, within the next decade, I'd be shocked if any paper is printing a print edition. I really would.
Yeah. It's so easy. So easy. Yeah.
We may have a turn, of course, where everyone's tired of their computers after this year, especially.
No kidding.
But I doubt it. I think that it's going, because one is you can be more current, you can be to the moment. You don't have to wait for something to go to presses.
Right.
So when you go to someplace like the Commercial Appeal online, that is current, up to date information to the minute.
And see, that's what I like. I like, this just came up. Let me see what's going on.
Right.
It's like breaking,
Whereas
breaking
the print
news.
edition, it's the next day's
That's
news.
right. Yeah, and you heard, I just didn't know like how many articles you have to write, how many you can't but with digital, I guess you can put them out there.
Yeah, I do.
So do you struggle to find things to write about?
Not really.
Really?
No, there's so many good things going on in the city.
So
it's
how
really
far planned out are you?
amazing. Well, I try to plan out the print editions. That I plan.
Okay.
Just because those take a little bit. There's some more feature stories than necessarily like last minute news stories.
Yeah.
So I tend to be out at least 3 weeks on those that I start working on. But then it's interesting stuff comes up. There's a lot of stuff opening right now too.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people, entrepreneurs, that are kind of following their dream, and which is doing these really cool, foods.
It's amazing.
And then the fact that these restaurants are opening. I mean, it's just such a bright spot. I was so scared about a year ago
because everything's
I
going to
thought
close.
that everything was, and 6 months ago I was still terrified of what this month would look like.
Yeah.
And we're now on the upswing, and I don't think we're going to lose that. I mean, again, things.
I think
knock on wood.
Yeah, knock on wood.
But I think things are moving in a positive direction. And Memphis fared very well.
Yeah.
We lost some good ones, but Memphis fared very well compared to other cities.
And Memphis, and you're going to know this better than anyone, if you've ever visited here or you might in the future, we are becoming like a extremely well-known food-centric city with,
it's amazing.
Unbelievable chefs, fantastic restaurants that you might not think of.
Well,
when
and
you
I
think
hate
of
to
Memphis.
say that I'm sitting here with folks from Corky's, but
No.
it's not just barbecue anymore.
That's right. No, I agree.
It used to be barbecue and maybe soul food,
Yep.
and now it's like so much more. People like down the street, Andrew
Andy
and
and
Michael,
Yeah.
that are taking Southern ingredients and using Italian cooking techniques.
I mean,
with
James Beard is
Southern,
chef award.
yes. And they now have what, four or five restaurants? I can't keep up with it. Yeah, they have a handful, and you know, I mean, there are people that are just really doing things from. I mean, Muddy's Bake Shop. I mean, Kat Gordon does things from the heart, and you can tell. I mean, every bite of her cupcakes and her cookies, I mean, it is from scratch and made with love. And I mean, there's just some really passionate people that are really
But the food scene is amazing in Memphis.
Yeah.
It really is.
It's hard to pick where to go to eat.
I know, which is a good thing.
It is
That's
a good thing. It is a good thing.
I agree.
It used to not be that way.
No, I agree. And it's not just which one of these type of places you want to go to. It is completely different cuisines and fantastic people and the food's amazing. Yep. What's the best compliment you've ever received? It's a tough one.
Oh.
Yeah.
I don't know. Have I ever gotten a compliment?
Of course. Of course.
I don't know. I guess when I get, we have a joke with my husband that he always tells people that I'm mean as a snake.
I don't see that.
But most people turn around and he's joking, and most people say, "But your wife is so sweet." I always try to be kind. I mean, that's one of the things that when you think about what you want to be known for, is I want to be known as somebody that is kind and loving and considerate. That's a legacy and a good way to live. I think
it really is that.
I try to treat everyone with kindness, and I try.
And you're intentional, but you're intentional about it.
Yeah, I mean, and it's and I'm humbled by all of these people that I meet from all different. I mean, that's one of the things I've loved about this job. I've met so many people that my path would have never crossed before, and it has so broadened my experience because I went to a private school here in Memphis. I mean, I had 30 people in my graduating class. I mean, it was. I lived in a bubble.
Right.
And there's so much here, and there's so many amazing people.
Yep.
And I needed to get off the Poplar Corridor,
That's
as
right.
I just said.
Yeah.
And when you go out into the city, I mean, there's some absolutely amazingly talented, inspirational people of all different kinds of walks of life.
Absolutely.
And this job has really afforded me the opportunity to meet people that I would have never see sides of the city I would have never seen.
I know. I feel the same way. I related a lot to travel. I mean, first of all, I get to work with amazing people, and we have a lot of businesses and different, restaurants and the ship and all this, but in manufacturing. So I've gotten to work with a lot of people from every walk of life. But I think travel has really opened my eyes to all different cultures and people and food. And is there a food that you don't like or won't eat?
Well.
I'll tell you, I had some grilled octopus in Greece one time, and because I know that's the thing, and they pulled it right off the line. It was hanging there dangling, and they pulled it right off, and they threw it on the grill. And first couple bites, I was like, I think it's good, and then after that, I was like,
Well, I have to tell you, I know this is probably terrible, but I'm not a fan of Indian food. I love naan. I love rice.
Right.
I don't know what it is, but something about
you're just not going for it.
The curries, I don't know. It's not been my fave.
That's not one of mine either.
People
who love Indian food, they love it.
Love it.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm almost bad. I feel like I'm a bad person by saying that it's not my fave.
I just like that I'm not the only one.
Yeah.
It makes me feel uncultured. You're uncultured. You don't like Indian food?
I think it has to do with something. When I was in college, I was living in D.C., and Adams Morgan, as this neighborhood was known for all of its different kind of, international restaurants. And someone took me for Ethiopian food. And it was, at the time, it was like all the stuff. It was a texture thing. Like, I love apples, but I don't like applesauce.
You don't like applesauce?
No, I don't like applesauce. It's
See,
slimy.
Jennifer Chandler
does not like applesauce.
I love my grandmother made homemade applesauce.
So,
I love it.
I maybe would try hers, but the stuff in the little Mott's pack, So I was eating. There was something about the texture of the Ethiopian food that I was just like, and for me, I've always kept that
Texture's
flavor.
Your thing.
And there's something about the texture of some of the Indian food and the curries the same way. But it's very interesting. As an adult, I've been to, and I hate that Blue Nile is gone. It's now Stickham Restaurant, so he's still Aramaeus is still making some great food over there, but he had this beautiful platter of lentils, but it was not as mushy as what I'd experienced years before.
Right.
I loved his platter. I don't know why I didn't.
Huh.
I don't know. Maybe I need to give Indian
That's a good
food
answer.
another try.
I don't know. I went with Barry one time, and he loves it. And Barry, one of the owners of Gorky's, and it wasn't for me. You know that the one. Did you have a food growing up you wouldn't eat?
Oh, yes. I had a lot of foods I wouldn't grow.
Really?
And here's the funny thing.
Were you a
I
picky
used to tell people I was allergic to Brussels sprouts.
Oh my god.
And here's the funny thing
sounds like my daughter. Yeah.
I love Brussels sprouts now, but back then they were boiled and mushy and gross in the 70s.
See, it's the texture.
But now when they're like, roasted and crispy, they're so good.
Yeah, I like Brussels sprouts, oddly. Yeah.
Yeah, but I wouldn't eat Brussels sprouts.
Do you know the one thing that I wouldn't eat as a kid? And I don't remember when I started to like it, but there's one thing, and it didn't matter where it came from or anything, is barbecue. Can you believe that?
That's so funny.
I didn't eat, if it was barbecue pizza, I had to get my own pizza because I didn't even want it touching. My granddad, even if they cooked barbecue chicken at the lake, I wanted like a burger off to the side, like that was the one thing. And my grandparents, actually, I think I was in 6th grade, they brought me to Corky's. I didn't put it together for years. Yeah. I still know where we sat, but I didn't put it together. And I thought, oh my gosh, they're taking me to a barbecue place. Yeah. Like I don't eat But that was the food. I know. I think it's funny. It's a turn of events.
Can I tell you a funny story about that? Because we just ate fish, and now like anyone that knows me knows that I eat fish all the time.
Yeah.
I lost my first tooth at the Red Lobster on Summer Avenue, which is now Central Barbecue.
Yeah.
Eating a hamburger.
Nuh-uh. Oh, at Red Lobster.
At Red Lobster.
That's so funny. Yeah, I know. Things change, definitely. Who inspires you?
Oh.
Or who's your hero?
Who's my hero? I don't know. That's a hard one. I think it changes in different things and different ways of life.
Yeah.
But obviously, my parents, my mother and father have really been influential in my life.
Yeah. They tell you they want you to chase your dreams and do what you want.
Yes and no.
Supportive.
They've been supportive. They've always been supportive.
Yeah.
They may have questioned,
right,
but they've always been supportive. Yes, that's true. But how they live their lives, and then, that's a hard one.
Yeah.
I don't know who it is right now.
But you said you like to listen to people and get great information.
I know professionally I want to be Ina Garten when I grow up.
Look.
Oh, look, she's on the wall.
She's on my wall right there. I
want to be Ina Garten.
She was really sweet.
I want to have a book called I'm Cooking for Paul. That's my husband. She's cooking for Jeffrey. I want to have a little cooking show and have Paul model in.
My wife likes her because she makes one signature cocktail. Instead of having to set up a whole bar and having 20 things, she always says, just make this one.
Did you see the Cosmo video this summer that she did? Oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to send you a link. She did this Instagram or Facebook post, and it is all about making a Cosmo. And she makes a Cosmo, so she makes an entire pitcher.
Let's see, the one cocktail.
She has a martini glass that I swear half the pitcher goes into, and then she drinks. It's the funniest thing you've ever seen in your entire. She has such a funny sense of humor, and I love her because she's always been like this great cook, and now to see this other side of her.
That's awesome. She was super sweet. I met her at QVC. She was doing her book there, which, by the way, you did a cookbook at QVC.
I did. Mm-hmm. I did. Simply Grilling.
All right, so you talked about dessert. So let's move on to the dessert. I call this segment short and sweet.
Okay.
And we'll do some rapid fire questions. We'll move all this food, drummies, and catfish.
I know, but I might still like to sit here and.
I did a caramel layer cake for you. And so, because I picked it, one, it's kind of new for us. We have a couple layer cakes now. But I picked it because, to me, you're just the epitome of Southern and manners and bringing joy and things like that. And caramel cake, to me, is not similar to catfish, but to me it's a regional thing, a caramel layer cake. And Caramel's slow to make.
This is not an easy cake to make.
It's not an easy cake.
Like,
Cake.
I don't have this in any of my cookbooks.
because I think you can mess up the caramel so easily.
You can. I mean, it is an art form. But I'm looking at this.
Yeah.
And look at the. You're not skimping on the caramel in between the layers.
Well, you can't because see that's the. Let me tell you something. Whenever I'm working with a product with QVC or at the restaurant, or, developing a product, I like to eat, and I know what I like. I don't like to go, oh, I wish it had a little more of this. And so when I see things like that where there's a cake and it might be a great cake, but it's like, oh, it's just a hint of this. That's not my thing.
Yep.
I want it. Like if it's a caramel cake,
you want to taste caramel.
I want caramel on it. Yeah.
It's good. It's nice and super moist too.
But don't you think it's very Southern? Like, who would think a caramel layer cake? Because, I lived half my life kind of in Philly.
Yep.
Back and forth to QVC.
And they don't have it up there.
No. I don't think anyone would probably have thought of it.
Because.
Okay, tell me why.
Southerners make food with love.
Oh.
And if it takes a long time to make.
Then that's what we make.
That's okay.
Yeah.
It just is what it is.
Yeah.
That's what the grandmas do.
Stirring that caramel.
Exactly. And not that up in New Jersey, the Italian people making, like gravies or
meatballs
and all that kind of stuff. I know they're making it with love, but there's just something, I don't know.
There's something about Southern food.
I
want to apologize for it. Southern food is amazing.
If it's going to be sweet, it's going to be sweet.
Very.
Yeah, so you need, obviously, it's going to have a lot of sugar in here. And it's made slow and with love, and you can taste that.
Yeah, and like I said, the items that I picked today, because it's not easy to pick food. I mean, luckily I didn't think about it too hard. I was kind of like, oh, here's what we're going to do. And then as I said, this is what we're going to have today, to myself, I thought, oh, I probably should have put more thought into this, but
you're not helping my diet.
But really, well, I know, me neither. But I wanted to pick things that are not our main focus. Like, oh, you got a sausage and cheese plate, you got ribs, you got banana pudding. I wanted to pick things that are sort of off menu because that's what I think is cool about certain restaurants or most restaurants. It's the ones that maybe not what they're most popular for. But, oh, have you had the caramel cake here? Have you,
you need to, you should definitely, when you go to a restaurant, approach it with an open mind. I mean, everyone is going to have their signature dish.
Right.
And I remember there was a restaurant called Jarrett's. Remember Jarrett's?
Yeah.
And
that's
they
right
had
down the street from where I live.
Yeah, the horseradish encrusted grouper.
Uh-huh.
And I remember they were like, we hate making this dish because we can't take it off the menu. And I know that like Tsunami, Ben Smith, and Cooper Young with his sea bass, which now I think it costs like $50 for a piece. I think he's trying to price it out that people would stop ordering, but they're still ordering it
because you want it.
Because it's so good. But you have to you can have it every other time.
That's right.
That thing that you love at a restaurant, have it every other time. Try something new on the menu and ask.
Yeah.
Ask the server, ask the chef,
what they like what the kitchen.
What I should try to be surprised.
Yeah, I totally agree. And so that's why I picked these things for you because it's not this isn't the go-to. It's sort of it's on the menu, but sort of off the menu things, which I love.
The first time I had your catfish years ago, I was like, Corky's has catfish?
I know. We won awards for the fish. Anyway,
I voted you one of my top 5 in the Memphis
a
couple of years ago.
Thank you. All right, so I'm going to do some rapid fire questions. You have a favorite quote that that kind of recurs in your mind?
Oh, that's a hard one
too. That's a tough one. What's your first job?
My first job?
Yeah.
My first job was being a lifeguard at the Racquet Club, which has now been torn down here in Memphis.
Yeah,
yes, and I was a Racquet Club I swam on the swim team there, and I was a lifeguard there for, probably 5-6 summers.
Cool. Do you still have anything from childhood? What's the one thing you still have from childhood? Do you have anything?
Ask my husband that question.
Oh gosh, too much stuff.
Too much stuff. Things that do.
So
I keep everything. I have,
in
fact, when we moved into this house recently, I had my notebooks from high school. And my husband and my father both looked at me and they go, "We are not carrying those up into the attic. They need to go." At the time I was like 45, and they were like, "You are 45 and you do not need to keep that anymore." But I have like a little stuffed animal that I loved when I was a kid.
Yeah.
It sits in a corner in my closet.
It's sentimental memories.
It's sentimental.
Yep.
And there's things that I have, one thing I have, especially when you talk about memories from grandparents. So I grew up in a New Orleans Catholic family.
Oh my gosh.
And grandma would cook for all these things. But one of the things she would always do for us when we were kids is she would have these little ornate, they're actually almost kind of ugly, but they're these colored glass sherry glasses. She loved her sherry.
My grandma, we have some.
And she would put out little sherry glasses at all the kids' tables and give us literally a thumbful of wine. And we felt like we were so old.
Right.
Like it
you
was
were
a
part
Christmas
of the adult
dinner,
table, kind of.
Thanksgiving dinner, and all that stuff. I have those glasses.
Do you really?
Yes. I have them displayed.
Right. I used to drink wine out of that one.
I did when I was like 7 years old. Yeah.
That's really cool. That's a neat story. And I'm sure every time you pass by them, you're like,
I know. And I can't wait to be a grandma and serve.
I'm doing this. Is there anything that you want to accomplish? What's on your to-do list at some point?
Oh gosh. Well, I need to survive the next 2 weeks because my youngest daughter's graduating from high school.
Oh, is she?
Yes. Yes.
Oh, good.
And
Congratulations.
So I'm about to be an empty nester.
Yeah.
I would like to write another cookbook, and I need to figure out how to do that.
Yeah.
I said I was blessed with having the same publisher for a very long time.
Yeah.
But I'm going to be an empty nester starting in September. So
now maybe you'll have time.
I'm going to have time, and I think it's time to write whatever the next chapter in my life is. I'm not sure what the topic will be, but maybe cooking for two.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
Simply for two.
Yeah.
See? Favorite vacation spot?
Oh, I'm a beach girl, 110%.
Yeah.
We have been, which is very funny. I don't know if we're going to go this year because we waited too long to book something. We've been going to 30A kind of area
for
good luck. Whatever.
It's packed.
Now it's packed.
Yep.
I mean, it's kind of sad how it's changed.
Yep.
So I love the beaches there. They're the most beautiful beaches
and
that's in the entire world.
That's in Florida, the Panhandle, in between Pensacola and Panama City area. It's a beautiful area.
Beautiful beaches,
beautiful water.
And now it's overrun with people.
Now it's a lot of people. People found the Memphis secret.
I know.
It was like Memphis, Louisiana, Atlanta, and now it's pulling a lot of like Chicago, further in Texas.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. So
it's gotten a little bit crazy.
Yeah. Well, plus I think everybody wants to get out.
I do have a place I want to go back to though.
Where's that?
We had our honeymoon, and we've been back 2 or 3 times over the year. Is in North Eleuthera.
Where's that?
In the Bahamas. And so Harbor Island is the name of the island. It is an island that's like a half mile by like 3 miles long.
Yeah.
And it has pink sand beaches.
Wow.
And
how'd you get there?
So you flew into Nassau.
Yeah.
In a real plane.
Right.
And then you got on
not real plane.
And then you got on a very small plane that had like maybe 4 or 5 people on it. Basically you're riding low over the water and you feel like you're gonna fall out.
Right.
And then you get on a water taxi
that gets you there.
That takes you to the island, and then you get on a golf cart because there are no cars.
Oh my God. Oh, there's no cars.
Yeah.
Wow. That sounds great.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I love the islands. Any place that you want to go that you've never been?
There are a lot of places I have not been. I'm fairly well traveled, thank goodness.
Yeah.
But I've never been to Greece.
I love it.
I mean, that's probably the only place in Europe I've never been.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
So I'd like to go to Greece. I'm kind of curious about Australia too.
Oh, I'd love to. You just have to have some time.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Minimum 2 weeks. I mean, it's just so far. Yeah. I mean, I would love to go there.
So.
What have you watched most recently?
Oh.
Like everyone has.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything left for me to watch on Netflix.
I know. Come on, Netflix, Amazon Prime.
Yeah. What do I admit? I did like, what was the one that we laughed that's like, is it real? Is it porn or is it TV? The Bridgerton.
Oh, the Bridgerton. Oh, yeah. We saw that.
Yeah,
yep.
We watched that one recently. I saw one, and now I'm having a senior moment on the name of it.
I'm terrible with the names of them. I remember
there is a British comedy. It has like 2 or 3 seasons, and it is about the premises of it is there's a little old lady and a little old man that were basically liked each other when they were like 16, and then they reconnect at age 80 something, and then their two families come together, and everybody's family is a train wreck. And I I don't know what the name of it is.
Okay.
I wish I could think of the name of it.
I'm gonna have to ask my wife.
But you need to like Google this one.
Okay.
It is like
that's good.
It will make you think your family's.
And I watch
it's
British
hysterical.
shows, which is weird.
It's
sometimes.
hysterical, and I can't believe. I don't like The Crown too. You know, that was another one, a British one.
Yeah,
but this one's hysterical. I watched it in February. It was.
Do you watch it with subtitles? We do. Even when it's in English.
Really?
Oh my gosh!
I can understand.
We've gotten so used to subtitles. I think from Peaky Blinders because it's hard to understand. And now, even with the English accent, we're like, what did they say? Turn the closed caption on. What's one of your most favorite gifts you've ever received?
Well, did I just say what popped into my mind first?
Yes.
Which is completely random, but I think we're talking about food.
Okay.
So when my husband and I were dating.
Yeah. I want to hear this.
He gave me. We had a very romantic dinner at Erling Jensen's, which was phenomenal. Which was not La Terrell. Erling Jensen was the chef at La Terrell, which is now Restaurant Iris.
Yep.
And it was my birthday, and he gave me a letter opener that was a brass one that was shaped as an asparagus. And I was like, oh my gosh, because what he said, he goes, I have never eaten asparagus until I met you, and you've opened my life to so many things that I've never experienced. And I'm looking forward to many more years of this, blah, blah, blah.
Oh my gosh.
And so I come home, and I'm like on the phone with my sisters and my friends. I'm like, they're like, what did you get? And I go, I got this letter opener that's an asparagus. I'm crying. And all of a sudden, my friends are like, you're the weirdest person in the entire world. To the point, at our wedding, at our rehearsal dinner, all of my bridesmaids stood up with asparagus spears and had a whole song about asparagus. And it was pretty
I
funny.
think it's a great story, and your husband nailed the gift. You
and
never
I still
forgot
have
it. You still have it.
It's actually in the same cabinet displayed with my little sherry glasses.
It's your memory cabinet. Tell your dad and your husband that you're keeping your
the
memory
China cabinet
That's
that
right.
everyone can see. Yeah.
All right. I'm going to stop with the rapid fire questions because I wanted to tell you something before we wrap it up, if that's all right.
Yep.
So you don't know this, and I'm going to say it quickly, and then I'm going to move on.
Okay.
You don't know this, but you changed my entire life.
Yours?
Yes. And I won't get into too many details. I know.
Really?
I'm looking at you. Yeah. I know. I never told you. But I think it's
me cry.
No,
That's
I think
the
it's
biggest compliment.
I think
hopefully it was for the good.
Yeah, it is good. No, it's good. I think it's important to tell people thank you and you appreciate them, and you did. You I'd already had a success in my career, or what I think of as success. This was years ago, and I knew that I liked what I did with getting to go to QVC, the opportunity, and sell and talk to customers and promote Corky's brand. And you called me. I know where I was. I was traveling down I-40 with people in the car. I was riding to a volleyball tournament, and you were getting your cookbook on QVC, and you wanted some advice or help. And right after that, it changed me. I thought it went from, hey, I'm excited I get to do what I do, to someone else thinks that I'm good too. I'm an expert.
Aww.
And so I took that. I know, I'm telling you. I'm going to get through this. So I took that.
I'm a crier.
I took that and parlayed my career and success off of that.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I mean, I can feel the eyes welling up here. Now that is probably the best compliment I've ever gotten, because that's
and I've done some amazing, wildly successful things.
And all I did was call and ask you for advice.
I know, but it was so funny because it wasn't a big deal to me. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so. Let me tell you what to do. What? I'm going to call David, and I remember a relation because I think everything built on relationships. I have my friend David Venable at QVC, a big host. I knew you were going to be on his show. I either texted him or called him and said, hey, my friend Jennifer Chandler, she's from Memphis, take care of her, And I was like, someone's looking to me as that person, and I need to kind of own that. And I'll hate to cuss, Elizabeth, but what I say is I learned own your shit. Like, know what you're good at and go after it. And that changed my trajectory of my career.
Wow.
I never told you.
Oh, I'm sitting over here. But that just gives me so much joy because it goes back to, owning the responsibility that you're given.
Yeah.
And any role that you're given in life. Now I'm going to get really weepy over here. And trying, what I try to do with writing for the commercial, I feel a responsibility to lift up the restaurant community in Memphis. That's what I don't know if my editors would think that, but that's what I view my job as, is to lift people up.
Well, I think
is not
that
to put
the readers
anyone
enjoy
down.
it just as much as the people you're writing
But
about.
if you're giving a responsibility is just to lift up everybody in your life, it only helps everybody if everybody's lifted up.
That's right. I totally agree.
Can we just change the world this way?
Yes, let's do that. Let's do that.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah,
with
I
me
had to
because
share it with you.
That's really
Yes, but it's true. All right, so this is how I kind of wrap it up.
crying.
I hope that you enjoyed your meal and had a great conversation.
I did.
Yeah.
I did. Can I come back again tomorrow?
Yeah, come on. And so my hope with this podcast is that we inspire everyone listening to call up an old friend or someone they want to get to know better, invite them over for a meal or invite them out for a meal and have a great conversation.
I think that sounds like a perfect plan.
Thank you very much for coming.
Thanks for having me.
All right.